All right, welcome to the Fifth Line 5R show. Today we are going to discuss what has happened with the Florida Panthers organization over the last few days. Within the last 40 minutes, the Panthers have announced that Joel Quenneville has resigned from his role as head coach of the hockey team. There hasn't been an official announcement on the replacement, but reports say that Andrew Brunette will be the interim coach. That was from Elliot Friedman first, and then everyone kind of picked up on that. Today, we are joined with Shane Marinelli from the Five Reasons Sports Network and Armando Velez from Locked On Panthers. Guys, thanks for joining me today.
Great to be here, but just not under the best circumstances. Wish this were under better circumstances, my dudes.
Yeah, so obviously this came out of what's been happening with the Chicago Blackhawks investigation. Jenner and Block released a 107-page report 2 days ago, and today Joel Quenneville had his meeting with NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. So yeah, yesterday John Doe 1, who revealed himself as Kyle Beach, came forward on a TSN interview that was right before puck drop. Joel Quenneville was behind the bench yesterday, and then the Florida Panthers obviously played the game, and he wasn't made available for media availability. And then within about a day, there is no more Quenneville in Florida.
Yeah, I had a few people text me yesterday about the environment heading into the game, and that the vibe was awkward going there, and with this cloud hanging over this team and everything that's been going on, because of course with the social media age especially, word gets out really fast, and for a few hours we got to enjoy a hockey game, but it felt as if the hockey game at that time was kind of felt irrelevant. I mean, sure, the Florida Panthers won 4-1, beating Boston, um, and they're have a back-to-back tomorrow. But man, it's I my heart goes out to Kyle Beach, man. Like I watched that interview once, and I want to watch it again, honestly. And my heart goes out to him, and it's just a sad situation about what Q did or what he didn't do during his time in Chicago, and this decision was made by the Panthers. Now the Florida Panthers have no choice but to move on. They're now they have to just focus on the rest of the season, but also know that this is a black eye for the sport, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, people are gonna, with everything, in hindsight, Q probably shouldn't have coached last night. I think it really kind of, I guess, I started watching the game a little late yesterday, so I didn't see the whole pregame and the pregame vibe. I was just watching as the game was kind of going on, but it really kind of hit when Zito did the press conference, and you could see kind of the look in his face when he said, like, he gave the statement and walked away, and you could tell the reporters were kind of wanted to ask some more questions, and he was almost like he didn't just walk directly out of the room. He was like almost kind of gasping for words, like he wanted to say more, but he's like, just no. He looked genuinely like someone that a bus hit him that night. You know what I mean? Just that was just totally, you know, Zito normally doesn't come off that way. I mean, and you can understand why it was, and that's when, like, not that you didn't feel the gravity of the situation beforehand, but from the Panthers' point of view, right there, it was kind of like, whoa, like, you could just see what's going on. You could see on his face what was kind of what's going on behind closed doors.
So I have here first, I have a press release from Matt Caldwell, who's the CEO and president of the Florida Panthers. After the release of the Jenner and Block investigative report on Tuesday afternoon, we have continued to diligently review the information within that report, in addition to the new information that has recently become available. It should go without saying that the conduct described in that report is troubling and inexcusable. It stands in direct contrast to our values as an organization and what the Florida Panthers stand for. No one should ever have to endure what Kyle Beach experienced. And then the press release cut off. So let me see if I can find the remainder of that press release. Just 1 second. It's during, no one should ever have to endure what Kyle Beach experienced during and long after his time in Chicago. Quite simply, he was failed. We praise his bravery and courage in coming forward. Following a meeting today with Commissioner Bettman and the National Hockey League offices, which is part of the league's process to decide how to move forward, Joel made the decision to resign, and the Florida Panthers accepted that resignation. Now I have a quote from Quenneville. This was tweeted by Chris Johnson. So let me pull this up for you. This is what Quenneville said. With deep regret and contrition, I announce my resignation as the head coach of the Florida Panthers. I want to express my sorrow for the pain this young man, Kyle Beach, has suffered. My former team, the Blackhawks, failed Kyle, and I own my share of that. I want to reflect on how all of this happened and take the time to educate myself on ensuring hockey spaces are safe for everyone. So, this is a statement from Gary Bettman on the resignation of Joel Quenneville, and I will sum up the first part. The National Hockey League agrees with the decision tonight by Joel Quenneville to resign his duties as head coach of the Florida Panthers. In his former role as Chicago Blackhawks head coach, Mr. Quenneville was among several former members of the club's senior leadership group who mishandled the 2010 sexual assault claim by former player Kyle Beach against the club's then video coach, Brad Aldridge. And following a meeting with Mr. Quenneville that took place this afternoon in my office, all parties agreed that it was no longer appropriate that he continue to serve as Florida's head coach. So, Q's out. No official announcement yet. Obviously, the Panthers made the decision to, well, Quenneville resigned. So they didn't make it. We're not going to say they fired him or anything. He resigned. That's officially what happened. But yeah, Quenneville's tenure is done. I don't know what's next coming from the league regarding what's going to happen with him or anyone else. Stan Bowman obviously resigned as GM of the Chicago Blackhawks. Tomorrow, Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to have his meeting with the league.
And let's not forget that his meeting with Commissioner Bettman was supposed to happen on Monday. So one thing I described on tomorrow's show of Locked On Panthers was actually, fun fact, I found out about this this resignation in the middle of my third segment for tomorrow's show. So likely a bonus episode coming for the Locked On Panthers. If people also listen to Locked On Panthers, but my line of thinking was that because Cheveldayoff's meeting wasn't until Monday, that he was going to meet with Bettman. He was going to take 2 days, the Boston and Detroit game, and then the Florida Panthers on their schedule, they have 4 days off in between Saturday's game and next Thursday's game against Washington. And then something would be announced there. What tells me is that meeting, there were more stuff that it was revealed based on what Q knew or what he didn't know. One of the two. And then Commissioner Bettman looks like he took the initiative to say, Kevin Cheveldayoff, we have to schedule this meeting immediately. Sorry, we have to do this. So that rescheduling of Cheveldayoff's meeting said a lot, honestly, about all of this.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Once everything started moving quickly, once everything started happening, sometimes just the way things move in 2021 is it starts to move a little bit, and you think it's going to kind of play out. All right, we'll see what happens, and then once the ball starts rolling, it kind of everything breaks loose.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and maybe, we're kind of wondering why, organizations don't respond to this quicker, see it coming. I'm not going to assume what any of the organizations or what the Panthers' plans were of handling it, before kind of the interview yesterday. But it's like, you wonder why it's like, okay, in 2021, how can you not see how the social media avalanche, the kind of the wave of everything, can someone anticipate this? Like, I understand the first thinking is, oh, let's see what happens. Oh, there's, some, I even saw people on as late as 5 o'clock yesterday still tweeting out like, ooh, there's something here that could leave, that could make it seem like he isn't responsible, right? Like, that debate was still happening on Twitter. And then the interview happened, and it just, everything just kind of happened quickly from there. And it was pretty cut and dry what needed to happen. And it felt like nobody anticipated that.
And you said it best, the social media age. I'm on it. You're on it. Caitlin's on it. And as she's starting to join in on the show.
Yes.
Yeah. So it you got to wonder how this would be in an age, even 15 years ago, 20 years ago, without how quickly word goes. You just have to rely on the paper when you come back the next day, based on news, and of course the pressure that comes from the outside world too, and as and definitely that definitely has a factor in it too, for sure.
Well, let's also just be real. If Beach wasn't brave enough to do the interview,
Mhm.
I think we can all honestly say to ourselves, we're not having this conversation right now, right? Like, we're just,
Absolutely.
we're saying, okay, can the Panthers handle the Red Wings tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. Like, someone said it best, when these things happen, and, and I know in South Florida, we'll just stick with the hot topic with Deshaun Watson too. People tend not to feel these things until there's a face, and then there's something emotionally that directly connects you. When you have a bunch of people, victim 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever investigation and anything we do in the world, when you just have on like a police report or an investigation when they're nameless victims, I think we're all guilty to it at some degree or another. People just don't have the emotional response. People just don't. And if he never went on, if that interview doesn't happen, I don't think none of us are having this conversation.
And another situation that you could relate to was back in like early 2010s, Ray Rice, of the Baltimore Ravens. He had the domestic violence situation in that elevator in, I believe it was Atlantic City. And he was just about to return to action. And then that video surfaced of him punching his then fiance, who ended up actually marrying him shortly after. But yeah. And then what happened? He gets suspended and doesn't play an NFL game ever again. So you're right. When there's not a face to it, it's hard to us to emotionally wrap our heads around it.
Can I say something? I don't think it's right or wrong. It's on the commissioner's statement that kind of was boggling mind. That in the last paragraph, I don't even know why you need to go there. It's something that could also be unsaid, but even to have the door open, if Quenneville wants to rejoin the league in any capacity in the future, it's like, why is that even in the statement, like, right now? Does that even have to be discussed? I mean, it's like, what?
So the statement that Shane is referring to is in the last sentence of the final paragraph. It says, however, Should he wish to re-enter the league in some capacity in the future, I will require a meeting with him in advance in order to determine the appropriate conditions under which such new employment might take place. So basically, after this entire investigation took place, after he had to have a meeting with not only Quenneville, but Bill Zito went, Matthew Caldwell went, Quenneville resigned. That statement, the same statement, says if he does want to re-enter the league in any capacity, he will have to have another meeting with me or something along those lines.
I'm not a big believer in, people should, their whole lives should be likely to take, maybe in time it does change or, whatever that looks like at a point. But like, that could just probably go unspoken right now. It really feels like immediately off the bat, I'm opening the door right now. When the outrage is over, we'll slide this. He'll slide into some front office, low level front office job, or commissioner's job in like 6 years when someone won't notice, and we'll press release it at 2:30 on a Friday.
I think of this. My mom always told me this. When it comes to asking a question, whether it was a professor or anything else, to have it in writing. That's what the NHL office wanted it to have. They wanted to have it in writing.
I totally second that. I think that obviously the NHL just cycles coaches around, but I think that if it ever does come to that, and it'll be interesting to see the next couple days, weeks, months, what went on in that meeting and what was said, and hear all that leaked. But I totally second that. They said that right then and there because they didn't want anyone to call them out for backtracking on what they said. They wanted to have it in writing. But I also think that yesterday, I mean, Shane, you were talking about putting a face to the name. I think that, this is my personal opinion, but I think the Panthers had Coach Q coach yesterday's game because prior to that game, Kyle had not come out and been identified as the victim. And I think they were just focused on, staying with what they know and going into that game with the best winning options. And they didn't think that it was going to blow up in the way that it did. And I think that had he not come out, I think Coach Q would have been available to the media last night. That's my personal opinion. I know he did address everyone after morning skate yesterday, but I think that when that came out in the middle of the game from the top down, they were like, he's not going to the media.
And it was an hour before puck drop. So
not only that, Rick Westhead did say in advance that they were going to have the person, John Doe 1, reveal himself at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So they knew it was going to happen. It's not like at 6 p.m. TSN randomly aired this segment and no one knew it was happening. They knew someone was going to be revealing themselves at that specific time, which was an hour before the expected puck drop. Obviously,
I just think they were more focused on like keeping everything as it is and not getting the team any outside distractions. But obviously, when they had that meeting today, Coach Q, everyone knew he was a distraction.
In hindsight, it was the wrong move. Like in
Absolutely.
hindsight, but I don't think the Panthers, they're just kind of swept up in the middle of this whole thing, right? One thing that's kind of frustrating me, you see kind of, and this is Twitter. Twitter obviously is, it's a cesspool, right? But like a lot of anger being vented at the Panthers, like last night, and I felt bad for whoever was on the Panthers social media team, like Anthony Duclair scoring an all-time amazing highlight goal has anything to do what's going on. And it like somehow the Panthers and Barkov and Bob playing his, one of his best games, the Panthers, anything to do what was going on. You kind of, obviously it degrees of feel here, but like they have nothing to do with this. So, they're just kind of swept up in all this.
What do you guys think the upcoming press conferences are going to look like? I hope it's not anything like Chicago's.
Yeah. If you haven't seen some of the former Blackhawks players' comments in their recent press conferences, specifically their captain, Jonathan Toews, who was also the captain during that entire 2010 run. I would go look at it.
It's not good. And apparently Edmonton media gave a lot of praise to Duncan Keith yesterday. How he made out to be the hero. He made out to be kind of a hero. I'm just like, not a good look. Not a good look for Edmonton media there with Duncan Keith. And something I said yesterday was celebrate the players on this Florida Panthers team. Celebrate their success. Focus on them. And also this, it's reported to be Andrew Brunette. And I looked up any type of head coaching experience. There's none. There's no head coaching experience from he's never done this before. But I think about this. Even though Q's gone, his message still remains. And it's going to be passed down through these assistant coaches if they've learned anything from Coach Q. I personally think as the team, I don't think this team is going to lose much of a beat.
Yeah, obviously, Andrew Brunette will be taking over as the interim coach. He does not have any head coaching experience, has been an assistant coach for a few seasons, spent some time in Minnesota there. Not only as an assistant coach, but in their front office, moves over to Florida, played over 1,100 NHL games. Last season was with the Chicago Blackhawks. However, it was 2011, 2012. So it was the season following that Stanley Cup run. Also the season following when that investigation had taken, or that team
around.
Yeah. So, the Panthers are, they didn't rush a new hire. There was some reports that was saying that John Tortorella might have been the front runner for that job. Obviously, no official announcement yet on Andrew Brunette being the interim coach, but Friedman reported it. LeBron reported it. Everyone reported that it will be Andrew Brunette.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess, Armando, what you're kind of, I feel still good about the Panthers as well. I mean, this, if anything, the team, the way it's set up is now almost just kind of built to, to just type of guys and the leadership they have on the team. I mean, how much more important is it to have a guy like Jumbo around now? It's not like any of these players have particularly had this, but, just to keep your mind on, hey, like, this isn't us. This is, everything for us still stays the same. So, I just hope, especially for, this franchise, that some positivity around the Panthers can kind of resume quick, because, it's, I mean, they're 7-0. I mean, those first 6 wins, I mean, you can really feel how much fun, and just on Twitter and stuff, how much fun, and, the town was buzzing, so to speak, about it.
I hope if yesterday's win was any indication that, because you talk about a distraction going into a game, they certainly had plenty of material, and they came out with a 4-1 win. So I hope if that's any indication of how their success is going to continue, that it's based off last night.
And let's not forget, they got off to a really slow start. They were, I believe, if I'm correct, they were outshot 15-5 in period number 1. And it took them a little bit to get into their rhythm. And then the rest of the way, second period, I'm just doing this by memory. I think they outshot Boston period number 2, 14-2. And then they were they found a way to keep their foot on the gas. And there's still a very great team. Most power rankings, including Locked On's power rankings, still have the Florida Panthers number 1 in the NHL. And this is still a very, very good hockey team. Bill Zito is built this right. And you mentioned Joe Thornton Shane, but I also think Patrick Hornquist as well. That's another player that I want to mention on this Florida Panthers team. And my hope is this. Something I mentioned on my show for tomorrow is I hope, and one thing that Mark Lazarus of The Athletic Jack Bushman of Locked On Blackhawks, honorable mention. He mentioned this, read the room, when it came to Jonathan Toews. And I hope that someone like Alexander Barkov, who he's quiet, he's a relatively quiet guy, when it comes to questions about Coach Q, that he could read the room and that know that about the timing of talk about, oh, he did this for my career, and talk about the truth and talk about and keep it real when it comes to this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's you could see how that, when you're not close to somebody, but someone like Barkov. But kind of seeing some of the guys on this team, I don't expect there's, I mean, knock on wood, but to be anyone to really, I guess maybe make that mistake is kind of really on. It feels, I'm pretty hopeful that this is the type of team that's, and hopefully a different Panthers leadership down onward just kind of handle it correctly, and then if they do that, they can, the more the better they handle this correctly, the more they can put it behind them and just continue on with their good season. So
Yeah, so the obviously Florida Panthers are still undefeated. They will be playing against the Detroit Red Wings. Let me pull up on Armando. When's that game?
Tomorrow, 7 p.m. and then a back-to-back in Boston, which will be Spencer Knight's homecoming to the Boston area.
I just got an email that they will be having post-morning skate media availability tomorrow. So that should be interesting.
Lots of definitely a lot of questions related to the coach, related to the players.
I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we can pretty much wrap it up here. If anyone has any last statements to say before we end this episode off, just go ahead.
Celebrate the players. That's all I got to say.
Hearts with the team.
All right, so I'd like to thank Armando for hopping on today. You can find him over at Locked On Panthers. Armando, where else can they find you?
Let me do it right. This at right here, MondoMan12, and I forgot to put the show account there, but I didn't think it would fit. But at LO_FLA Panthers, they could follow Locked On Panthers anywhere you listen to podcasts, and also across the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On NHL will be covering the Blackhawks investigation. Locked On Blackhawks with Jack Bushman, great friend of mine. Crosscheck NHL. They could listen to anything related to this situation, and also Locked On Winnipeg Jets with Harrison Lee for Kevin Cheveldayoff's chat with Gary Bettman as well. So all the plugs there for the Locked On Podcast Network as we cover this story in the NHL.
And obviously, Caitlin and Shane are both with the 5 Reasons Sports Network, part of the Fifth Line 5R crew. Caitlin, where can the guys find you?
On Twitter at CDaily95.
And Shane?
At Marinelli Shane.
All right. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to this episode. Obviously, the circumstances weren't the greatest, but what's done is done now for the coaching position. What comes after, we'll keep you updated there. Make sure you subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and we'll see you guys next time.